paradoxically really creating something that I like, that I truly like, that I want to hang in my house.
Right.
And then the paradox is that when I switch that mentality from trying to think about what they like and just paint what I like, more people end up liking it.
But I mean, was it like a struggle, like learning art?
Yeah, I mean, and then YouTube came out, and I was like, man, YouTube is like art school. You know, you can. It was like the YouTube revolution. Like you can you can learn anything you want off of fucking online. You know, fucking, I had to seek it out myself and really go for it, and it worked out. Like
one of my goals in life is to like die, and like have the world think being an artist is like the best job in the world.
And I was in Oregon at the time, and I had seen nothing like it. It was just blew my mind. It was like the highlights and the teal colors. It was like an ocean scene or something, and it just completely blew my mind. In comic book, I was just like, man, trying to like figure out how do they even do it. And then, you know, art classes and just a lot of failures, and wow, and here we are, you know.
Welcome and namaste, guitar heroes and artists of all kinds, to the, I don't know what we'll call it, Between the Strings, or do we have a name for this?
No.
Grant us art.
Yeah.
Grant us art.
Great.
Where we interview creators and ask them the inner questions that inspires their creativity. Today we have the one and only Casey Taylor.
Yeah.
And yesterday you told me just about how you wrote in your journal like if you could not create art you would, because that seems like an easier life. I mean, what's your life been like in art so far? I mean, we have this dope background behind us, all hand painted, commissioned. So I mean, obviously you're still doing it, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, as I said, the if I didn't feel the need to or feel guilty, if I didn't, I probably wouldn't. It just so happens that like I felt guilty enough that I've done it enough, and then now I get paid to do it. I think kind of like yourself, maybe, and a lot of artists is just like, well, if I'm gonna just be producing and filling up my house full of, you know, musical instruments or art supplies, like, hopefully someone starts paying for this. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I started doing art in the 8th grade, and I just wanted to be like, I guess where it started was I tell this story to other artists that ask me, like, or non-artists that maybe want to like start painting or doing writing or whatever. And I was around the 8th grade, maybe 7th grade, and I seen Thrasher magazine, and they used to do like these. I was a skateboarder, and so I had Thrasher, and then they used to do like a centerfold or something that was like these featured graffiti artists or something, you know?
Yeah.
And I just seen like some walls, and I think they might have been from LA, you know, California, so maybe SF. And I was in Oregon at the time, and I had seen nothing like it. It was just blew my mind. It was like the highlights and the teal colors. It was like an ocean scene or something. And it just completely blew my mind. And I was like, man, I just want to like create some art like that. And that's where it started, was like, I just thought it was the coolest looking thing. And I had some comic books, X-Men and, you know, Marvel stuff and DC, and just the artists that were creating that stuff, like the female figures and stuff, like they were hella hot, and and dudes were just like so defined and detailed. And I just, man, I don't know why I thought it was just so cool, but yeah, so I just copied them. I just like that Thrasher magazine, I took everything that was in it and I just those 2 pages, and I just tried to recreate it, on my own paper, and just totally bite the styles of the master. And same with comic book. I was just like, man, trying to like figure out how do they even do it. And then art classes and just a lot of failures, and wow, and here we are. What a trip.
Yeah,
What
I
a
think
trip.
I think that's the same thing for me almost too. The only musical I think exposure I had was like Tarzan, soundtrack, or like Hercules. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Disney movies and shit.
Yeah, Backstreet Boys and Sync.
Yeah.
But when I went to like Great America and I heard this band come out, uh, and it was a recording. It was like this show about like I don't know, a rock and roll life or something. All I remember from that is hearing the opening riff to Back in Black, and it was just like
Oh yeah.
whack, whack, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like that first chord, I was like, did you guys hear that? And everyone's just like, yeah, I guess. I was like, no, like that was insane, and it just like blew my mind that like first like time I guess when art blows your mind, and I just had to go to Tower Records and get that album. You know what I mean? I like begged my grandma and be like, take me to Tower Records, and
Yeah.
then just watch all the documentaries on it and like get a guitar.
Ah, that's awesome.
It was just super cool. I mean, everyone else that was on the stage, they kind of had this like aesthetic of being lame, I guess. If that's a politically incorrect word now, I apologize. But they were just like dorks, and even I don't know. I guess I'm not safe in cancel culture, but there was this like kind of lame band. They're playing like What's New Pussycat, like Tom Jones, and then this like cool guy, the Les Paul walks out, long hair.
Yeah.
Like these go-go dancer girls are like following him, and then it's just like wank, 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 and I'm just like, that's it.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
Idolized. Yeah, dude.
and but I mean, was it like a struggle, like learning art, like in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
beginning? I mean,
yeah, that's kind of what that's what I was getting at. Was I just like, man, I kind of got into the art classes, but I just had no idea how people got that good. It was like pre-internet. Like we had dial up in the house, maybe
maybe.
sometimes. Like I don't even remember. It was like
You're
they were
saying
still
that?
sending out the CDs. Like Bill Gates was still sending out the CDs up in the mail. Like it was like really shitty. So like, and I wasn't taking art classes at the time, and there's no artists in my household. My
Right.
dad is like not a musician, but he's really into like rock music. So I was like, I was kind of like there was a lot of stimulus in my house as far as that goes, and other things, but visual art wasn't necessarily, it wasn't like, I don't know, promoted as a thing, like yeah, there was no museum trips or like here's the crayon, like
Yeah.
color, like on the weekend, like my parents were like go outside and play, so
Right.
it was kind of like just fucking, I had to seek it out myself and really go for it, and it worked out. Like it worked out. It's been a hell of a struggle. I took a long break. I got into like just aerosol art, spray paint, destroying shit over the years, and it really kind of, it helped me. It honed a lot of stuff, and the art classes at high school, when they used to be more of them.
Hmm.
Like I'm really grateful for that, because the art teachers just kind of seen that I was stoked, and they just really pushed me to like try stuff that was outside of my like 2 page Thrasher magazine style, or my like comic book.
Like
They were like,
Stanley.
oh, yeah, we need to expand. Like, illustration is cool, but like, yeah, how do you paint shadows, and how do you paint perspective, and on and on, the fundamentals. And I learned that, and then it's just been just ever evolving. And I didn't go to art school. I was going to go to art school, and it's too expensive, uh, and I just just and then YouTube came out, and I was like, man, YouTube is like art school. You can just, it was like the YouTube revolution. Like
Yeah.
you can learn anything you want off of fucking online. So I just been, and then now I'm so inspired by Instagram and people like posting videos, like the masters on Instagram, just posting little snippets of how they do their technique and little lesson here and there, and it just over even the last year, it's like I've seen my art go up a whole nother level because I really that's what I wanted. I just want to be like better, and I guess it just all stemmed from idolizing these people that are just that I think are so like such good artists for whatever reason. And then that's still the case today is like I just
Yeah.
see people that are like blowing my mind and I'm like I just want to be able to do that. And I don't know why because the age old question of like is art what's the point, It's not a practical thing as far as like oh yeah, I'm a master at fixing cars or building
Right.
houses, some shit that like actually makes sense. It's like I'm a master at spreading paint so you can hang it and just stare at it occasionally. It's like what even is that? It's such a weird. Even music makes more sense than visual art. At least you could dance to it. You know what I mean? Have fun.
Maybe. I think you can get paid a little bit more for drawing though.
Yeah, it could.
I
Yeah,
mean, that painting, sell it for $1,000. You know what I mean?
that's true. I mean, yeah,
I
I've
look
seen
at
art.
some of my like artist friends and I'm super envious because I'm like, shit, dude, if I could draw or like paint like that, like, man, like having a store for that or just Instagram or, like something physical people can buy, you
That's
know,
true. That's
like
true.
music's so existential that it's like very hard nowadays
Yeah,
to monetize,
so much. Yeah.
because it's like it's just free, because it's
Everybody
digital.
wants it for free. Why would I
Yeah, it's just
pay? Yeah.
um
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I guess there's prints and whatnot that are free. It's just free if they
Yeah.
download your stuff. But
Yeah. Totally. There's actually the original, which
right.
you don't really see much of, I guess, in music anymore. There's no.
Yeah, because it'd be like, oh, this is the original master of the song. It's like cool. Who get like okay, sounds
Yeah.
just like Spotify.
And the vinyl heads is like, yeah, okay, cool. You got the vinyl like first print, but like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. The
maybe.
vinyl sounds terrible too. Like like people who say vinyl sounds better than digital music. I'm so skeptical because like it does if you have like a bomb record player and like amazing tube amplifier, to
Yeah.
like do it. But like I mean, it sounds pretty scratchy and
I
it's
mean,
just more of like a vibe. It's not really.
it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's like driving old cars. It's like
Yeah,
there's no air conditioning. They smell like
yeah,
exhaust. They rattle, but there's something.
but
It's a
it's
vibe.
cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the question. I guess that we're like, well, why? That's what I think a lot of people struggle with being an artist, right? Is like, well, why? Like, I don't fix cars. I don't, I don't know banking. I don't know like software engineering
Yeah.
or, I mean, whatever else their parents tell us to do as kids, right?
Yeah. So
Whatever else our parents are yelling at us to do instead of what we're doing. Uh, I had
get a
this
job.
idea today. Yeah, right. Get a job. And but I look at why are people fixing cars?
Yeah.
Like why are people becoming software engineers? They're like, "Oh, I want a beautiful home. I want to travel the world and see all this art. I want to be able to see the bands that I love. I want to like have like the extra money to get guitar lessons and I want to go to, do all these leisure activities, right?
Yeah.
So it's like without us, like what are people even working for? Like I guess like we could have an ultra practical society, but I mean that sounds pretty impractical, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the role of artists.
It's like
It's
what people strive to be. that's what they want, right? That's why they do all this like they're garbage men, you know what I mean? So they can go and I don't want to label all garbage men and women, but like, you know, they go see, you know, whatever country concerts in like town, or, you know, they can buy like a MAGA hat, or,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Something that's been designed, or the flashy new truck that got designed. Yeah, and it's
yeah,
like,
so they can get 30-inch rims on a lifted truck.
yeah. I mean, the role of artist, it's so large for sure. I mean, it branches into like design and engineering and all those facets. So it's like, it's really broad. Yeah, it's broad, but you're correct. I mean, it's a section of our society that is idolized by the people that like have never even done it. And I think
Yeah.
because it's just not that easy, I think to expose yourself to the world like that and continuously for no pay for a long time.
Yeah.
I think we're like, that's why I say like get a job, is because my parents or society is just from the beginning is like get a job and start making money. And like art can be that. And I've been selling actually like art for like a long time. When I think about like all my little hustles, it was like, how can I create something
Yeah.
that people will buy, even if it's like a craft or jewelry or something. It was always like, how can I freaking make something cool from a couple little key little things
Yeah.
that not a lot of other people are making, and somebody will buy that shit. And sadly, you really got to hustle hard in that to make ends meet. It's easier just to go get a 40-hour a week
Yeah.
from a young age, and that's what most people want, is that security, because the idea that I'm gonna spend even 20 hours procuring the things, learning, creating, and then nothing. Nobody buys it.
Right.
No one likes it even. Nobody buys it, but no one's even
No one
on it.
likes it. Yeah.
And what I've come, to speak on that point just briefly, is like I've learned through many times of putting my artwork out there to the world. Nowadays is on social media, and I don't have a large following per se, and I put it out there and I get nothing, no feedback really at all, right? And I'm like, what am I left with then? And I've done shows too where I sell nothing, like I hang 20 pieces reasonably priced
Yeah.
and nothing goes, and I'm like, well, it could be circumstantial, could be because nobody liked the work enough to buy it and hang it in their house, simply that. So what I had to do, and mentally, is change my mentality of like, am I monetizing this, putting a price tag on it? Am I painting it for them? Am I creating it for them? Or am I paradoxically really creating something that I like, that I truly like, that I want to hang in my house?
Right.
And then the paradox is that when I switch that mentality from trying to think about what they like and just paint what I like, more people end up liking it.
Mm.
I don't know why that is. Maybe I got good taste, but
Well,
so I
yeah.
just I try to paint some shit that I would want to hang on my own wall, and then usually somebody wants to buy it. What a trip.
That's why you should add a dragon to that painting. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's just like the truth, you know. I think I mean, you said you do things on social media. Do you have like any like ad campaigns, or like done any like Instagram, Facebook marketing?
No.
That's
I'm
like I feel like the biggest struggle for artists too, is like the marketing part.
Yeah, I kind of have dreams of just having like a gallery that there's a few that I've noticed, which is a cool concept. They're either right now they're all online galleries, but they
Hmm.
they market their premier artists to
Gotcha.
the world, and they highlight them, and then you can actually go direct to the artist. I don't know how their system works, but I'm like, that's freaking awesome. But I think they also have for sale through the gallery, and they take a
Right.
commission. That would honestly be the dream, is to be managed. Like every artist just wants to be managed by someone who's a pro. Will
Yeah.
take their 10%, and I just get to create.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm an all right business person. I've succeeded in other business.
Yeah. You did like real estate or
Yeah, I've done
something,
real
right?
estate, and I've been involved in a lot of stuff, and I understand business all right, and I've made a lot of money in business. But for some reason, yeah, the art is a, I don't know. It's almost, I don't want to call it sacred to me, but
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe it is, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the reason that I don't want to, sell out to the maximum extent. It's just more like, there's the age old saying of like, you know, uh, don't turn it into a job, like you
Mm,
turn your hobby, you work too hard on your hobby, and then it turns into a job, and then it's not fun anymore, you
mm,
know? So I just kind of like, I only take commissions that I'm interested in. I paint when I want to, you know, and if I have the time, and I just kind of keep it as a, on my own terms, But if I have a manager pushing me to like create, trying to get their 10%,
yeah.
I have a feeling that maybe the well would run dry, or I don't know, maybe I'd fail, or who knows? Yeah, that's an interesting concept, because I would love to sell out and get some more money.
Right.
We're all selling out anyway, you know what I mean, at our regular jobs.
Well, yeah, but that's like the fear, right? It's like with artists, is success makes people less creative or something. You know what I mean? Or like, what if I can't keep up with the demand?
Yeah.
Or like, what if my creativity shuts off? Which is it's a weird fear because like I never really heard a mechanic be like, oh, I wonder if I'm not gonna be interested in fixing this car today. You
Yeah,
know? Or like
that's
someone
true.
doing your taxes was like, oh, I wonder if I'm gonna remember how to use my calculator. Like we put in so much time and effort and skill, but I think there's a large part of maybe the way that we view, because most of our parents have no idea how like they get any work at their jobs. I feel like they have no idea what the marketing team is doing to
Yeah.
like bring them in clients all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm a mechanic. It's like cool. Well, like there's someone working for like your company who's like putting tons of ads out to be like, come to this tech, come to this tech, come to this tech, and then they show up at your door.
Yeah.
Like that whole other business. They just think like go get a job, or there's just people coming out of nowhere,
Hmm.
you know. But and I always think that's like the name of the game, really. Um, Personally, I felt like only there is a separation, right? Like I think as artists, like I mean, one thing I think is a problem in general is the way people make money in general, right? Like people get money for solving problems, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily what their value is. So like there's things like raising children well. Like there's not really a monetary value on that. Like no one's parents are getting paid extra for being a good parent. Like you're not getting paid extra to be an extra moral human being. Even though you're making the world better, you know,
Yeah.
like you're not necessarily getting rewarded. And same thing with art. Like we make the world better, we make the world tolerable, we help people connect and like see things they might not have seen before. Uh, but I guess like it's just kind of the way. There's different problems, I guess, if you're like hanging art. For music, for me, teaching guitar has been cool because it's not necessarily it's something I'm like good at, right? I don't
Mm.
know. I wouldn't say I love teaching the guitar, right? But am good at it. And then as far as like products that I've selling, and now it's more about like, let me create a backing track, like an instrumental that people can solo or like sing over.
Mm-hmm.
Like let me see if I can. But yeah, the way that I do that, the ones that I usually make that are the best backing tracks are the ones that I want to solo over, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should let that one go. Let that one tell it good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So it's like,
I just finished this set, and I'm like, I don't know if I actually want to sell it to him. I'm like,
yeah.
I want to keep it.
Yeah, so it's like all the things that we love. We're like, oh, I don't know if I could sell that one.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's my favorite. Uh, but I mean, I think nowadays, like, I don't know if it could be. I think maybe my prediction in the future for artists will be like with YouTube, like you said, with like this access, and then also all the tools to figure out like how to grow a YouTube channel, how to grow a podcast, how to market, how to engage people. Like I think there will be a time maybe in the next 5 years where, you know, even 10 years when automation keeps like improving and like, I mean, they already have like automation figuring out like the human DNA sequence and like looking for like cancer
Yeah.
like better than humans. They already have like algorithms that can predict marriages success better than humans. Like there's a lot of things that AI is doing. Uh, but the one thing I feel like it has not even come close to yet is art. Like all the AI music that I've heard, all the like you kind of get the idea of like where it's going, with it, but it's still just this very uh I don't know, it's just non like it's almost like you're listening to a little kid play or like paint and you see them with their stick figure and it's like they have to like label everything because you're not sure what it is. It's like this terrible.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think with marketing, like I think we can like my one of my goals in life is to like die and like have the world think being an artist is like the best job in the world. Like I'd love to change the world so that way like when parents like their kids are like, I want to be a doctor, they'd be like, a doctor? Why don't you want to be a painter? Why would you want to be a doctor? And this kid's like ashamed to be playing with like like surgery in their room and like looking up human anatomy, and they're like, "Are you playing with that anatomy game still?"
Uh,
you know.
yeah, I mean, shit, it's possible. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been around for so long and it's kind of had its role, I think, this kind of.
Because like think about like Burning Man. Like I mean, you've been there multiple years, right? You've done like projects there, and I mean,
Yeah,
what kind of connections and relationships has that
wow,
done
yeah.
for you? You know?
I mean, it as far as inspiration, it's like such a large point of inspiration because there's so much color and just other artwork and just it's creatively charged for sure. And I usually get a bunch of canvases and I get kind of a layout of stuff to paint. So when I get back, I'm ready to jump into like painting. I've painted 2 gallery shows right after Burning Man because I come back and I'm just like, jump in, let it out, like get weird and it really helps with that. I mean, there's literature that talks about uh, the artists recharging themselves and filling the well, that might run dry otherwise, and so like doing things that inspire me to, I don't know, just create in whatever outlet that is. Yeah, because if I just sit at home and just create and create and create, I'm just gonna kind of run dry. I mean, art is just reflection of I guess like what's in my mind, what's on my subconscious, what's in my actual view. You know, if I'm hanging out by the beach for a month, I'm probably going to end up drawing or something around the
Yeah.
beach, you know, like I'll draw an ocean scene or paint, you know, or same with the mountains or, you know, it's kind of a trip. Like, what is this? Like, where does the creative come from? And it's pretty much other artists. I take what I've seen and I morph it into, you know, it's just a representation of the thousands of things I've seen, whether it's artwork or actual nature and stuff. But also, it's just kind of coming out of, it's like my brain trying to uh, project itself, you know,
Yeah.
outwardly, like with music or with anything. It's like, what the hell is going on there? Why do I feel the need to take what's up here, put it out here? I guess so people will see it and think I'm cool. Maybe, I don't know.
And I've thought about the purpose of music a lot, just because you know, people will say, because parents ask me a lot when I'm doing guitar lessons, like, will my son make more friends by learning the guitar? Does this help you get into college? Does it, get you a date? Does it improve your IQ? Will it make you more creative? Or,
Yes,
and you're
everything.
like, yeah, but like, there's way better ways to get into college. And there's like way better ways to get a girl.
Yeah.
There's way better ways to make friends, and there's like way better ways to be creative than learning the guitar. Because the guitar kind of sucks. Like
It's like, hey, parents, do you want the type of girls that are gonna date guitar players to be
I mean,
hitting on
of
your kid?
course they
Do
do.
you, do you want the type of friends that would want to hang out with a guitar player, hanging
Of
out with your
course,
kid?
they're the greatest people ever.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, yes to all that. But what is it that music can do that nothing else can do? Or people would say like, "Oh, music will help me meditate or like calm down." Again, there's like so much better ways to calm down than like trying to force your hands to hold down metal strings on a wooden fretboard uh, with at a 90 or 45-degree angle and then move this hand and strum this hand just to get ignored at a party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Could just stand there and get ignored.
yeah, you don't have to spend all this money on the guitar.
Yeah.
Um, but I had to think, well, I think the most fundamental part of music is repetition, right? You know, um, the most famous songs, at least the ones people like most, even if it comes to like Beethoven or Mozart or whatever, are ones that have repetition. It's like ba-na-na-na, 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 or da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Four Seasons, like those are all very repetitive,
Yeah.
right? No one really remembers like fugue number 478 or because well, I mean, obviously that doesn't exist because I don't listen to classical music. But that repetition is super important, and like I think music allows for a message to be repeated, right? And it doesn't lose its meaning or power. Like, so I try to tell my students, like, look, like you can look at the guitar as a vessel to use it for things worth repeating. Like that's what music should be for. They might think it's like a byproduct of our language, but like if someone cultivates a message that they think is meaningful and is worth like being repeated generation after generation, like music is the only thing that will do that. Like
Wow.
books won't do that. I guess they keep it down, but that's more of like a way to record things, not necessarily.
It's not as catchy for sure.
It's just like there's other reasons to write a book, it could be organization. Like I don't think music is the best way to transmit information, but in terms of like just getting a chant or like a repetition going, and we look at like chanting as far as mantras or uh, you know, uh, positive affirmations and or CIA mind control, right? I mean,
Totally.
honestly,
I
like
mean, way
so
more people listen to music than read books, you know,
yeah, and
because you don't have to be literate to to do it, you know.
and I think art You know, the best part about art is like the laws of physics don't apply, you know? Like it's literally like this, yeah, it's like physics don't apply, I guess, you know? You can change the world, literally, you know, and that's really what the art is for. I mean, even I mean, uh, it's tough to say because like I was watching the Cardi B and Meg The Stallion like WAP video,
Hmm.
and it's like because I don't know, I was so turned on by that, bro. I was like, oh my god, this is like the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I think they're both super hot, and like I was just like, this is great. How is this free? Because there's like so much like CGI production and like psychedelic turns, and there's like tigers and like all these crazy costumes, and like the lighting is on point and the makeup, and it's like the cuts and the edits, and I'm just like, dude, like they had they had some guy working on like making sure like Cardi B's tits looked awesome for like hours on this video. And I mean there's just so much, and it's like, is that really where you should put it? You know, that's like the questionable thing, but it's like at the same time, like, I mean, I think the song is like wet ass pussy or something, is like what it says. And people were like offended, but I'm like, but who likes dry pussy? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah, like,
Like a
yeah. I mean,
wayward
you
song.
try to, yeah, you try to act like you don't like that. Like, what do you mean? Like, people live their entire life based on that principle, and no one said it.
That's
And
hilarious.
I,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you would consider that art, but I
Well,
think, I
that's
guess
another
it's
topic. That's another. We've talked about that before. What is art?
the morality.
What qualifies as artistic?
Well, yeah, it's just I think we're focused on like the why, I guess, but
Yeah, yeah. Let's not go into that next episode.
yeah, it's the next episode. Um, but yeah, I just think at this point, I mean, for me, creating art is I usually do it for myself, I guess, like connect to myself, figure out like I feel like there's usually like a vibration that's, you know, my main vibe at the time, and like when I've gotten to the point now where, you know, I've practiced so much at the instrument that I don't necessarily have to think about always what I'm doing technique wise, you know. So
Yeah.
I can almost like Ouija board my emotions, and like when things don't feel right, then they're not right. And like when they lock in, I'm like, oh, I guess this is actually how I'm feeling right now. Or like, you know, and it's
Totally.
humbling sometimes, you know, because you try to put on like a happy face and a happy tune
Yeah.
as we do in regular life. And that's
Well,
really the choice, right? When like we are artists, and like when I don't create, I want to like die, right? Like it just like,
yeah. What's with that? Yeah. So weird.
I mean, just imagine if our world was like, you know, our world is very orderly and structured, right? And like the people who are like very orderly and structured do well, right? They like go to, you know, law school, they read the book word for word, very literal, you know, and like we'll try to say like, oh, Elon Musk is so creative. I'm like, not really though. I mean, he's super smart, but I mean, like, it's just an electric car. I mean, like, it's cool he made the rocket, and you know, I guess like no one ever. It's cool he made the rocket, but like that's kind of been done before, right? Like he wants to colonize Mars. He made like solar panels. I mean, if anything, he's very innovative and like great at distribution. But in terms of like creativity, I don't think you get that successful being creative, because like there's no way to like monetize anything that is creative, because it's like outside of the norm almost. You know what I mean? Like Elon Musk has done a great job of taking things that are kind of on the fringes
Yeah.
of society, but are kind of still accepted: solar panels, rocket ships, electric cars, and just making them extra sexy. You
It
know,
makes
like I think that, but that's not really creative. Like I think creativity would have been, you know, like putting solar panels on those like dividers on the freeway.
I
You
mean,
know,
so
like
you're saying that Elon Musk is pretty much like an AI.
not an AI, but I think that he's a scientist, he's an engineer. If you've heard him on like Joe Rogan's podcast, they're like, Elon, how are we gonna like make an underground tunnel in LA? He's like, I mean, it's just a hole in the ground, right? But it's not really like, okay, what about when people need to come back up? Like,
Yeah,
then it's just the same problem that you had before, but now there's just fumes underground.
yeah, they're bottlenecked at the escalator.
I'm like, like self-driving cars would be the best option. Like,
Yeah, man, I
I
can't
mean,
wait till I get myself a self-driving car,
I
man.
guess
That's the dream. Taking a nap on my way to LA, dude. Just solo trip. Anyway, the why.
yeah,
It brings me to that point of like the why of like I said, the why of like why we create, but why do I feel bad when I don't create?
yeah.
I now that's like kind of a baffling concept. The why of why I do is because it
Obviously.
feels like I get validation and I feel like I'm producing. But I guess that is the why then. Why do I feel bad when I don't? Because I'm not getting that validation of like that new, you know, like I've already been validated for last week's piece of art I put out, and it dwindles. You can't rest on that, and so
I'd challenge you a little bit on it because you talked about how there's a lot of rejection that comes from you putting a lot of stuff out, like your galleries, and
yeah,
even on some level, you're like, I don't know if art school is like the best for me financially.
yeah,
So I don't know.
that's true.
I
That's
mean, like
true.
the things that you like doing most, like imagine, let's say, in the things that you were afraid of, you're like, oh, if I did get that, manager and like I made $1 million a year and gave him his 10%, like David Cho. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, Cho Show, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's
Shout out
wild.
Cho Show. Let's tag him in this. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be so great. Because, like, I mean, artists are just like, like, being successful and being a millionaire is usually people who do unusual things, right? Because it's unusual to be that wealthy or like good at something.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, where else are you going to be praised for being different? I mean, that's why I love the guitars because, like, if you play the same guitar riff as someone else, they go, boo! I'm serious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, if I came out and I was like, check out my new song, and I play Stairway to Heaven, they'd be like, boo, that's not your song, you suck! But, like,
Yeah.
if someone comes out and sings, like, da 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 da, or they sing, like, na 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 na, or, like, rip off someone else's melody,
Yeah.
like they do all the time, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that, and I think in country music, I think you can see that in rap, I think you can see that in jazz, and
Oh yeah.
even in metal. Everyone kind of has the same sort of voice, same sort of message.
Or
Uh,
I mean, I feel like that's a whole nother fucking topic in itself. Is like, has it all been done before? Is there really room to like do anything exceptional?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
I bring that up because the one thing that you said made you feel successful was when you created for yourself. So I guess my bringing it back to the success is if you did have all that success, but you weren't making things that made you happy, but gave you, the creature comforts that your parents wanted you to get from a job that you don't like. Like they wanted you to get a union job or they wanted you to get a law degree or real estate or something else, right? So that you could be secure enough to then make art that you liked.
Yeah.
So like what if your art was that equivalent, It gave you that creature comforts, and you had the success making something you didn't want to make. Uh, with that, would you, I guess, would you still do it?
That's tough, man. You know why? The other reason I didn't go to art school was because I went to a fucking up in Portland. I went to like where all the schools were there, and it was just like somehow I came about. I realized like, oh man, all the artists that go here end up working for advertising agencies or graphic design firms,
Mm-hmm.
making fucking ads and stuff for corporations. And I was like, I put myself in that position, and I was like, wow, that would be so fucking miserable. There's no way. And so it was that, and then they wanted, $40,000 to do that, and I was
Right.
like, no way, man, way. If they
Yeah.
would have said it will make you a successful independent, and I'd have probably been like, okay, dope. But for some reason, I just seen like, you know, S corp, C corp, LLC. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
working for. And sure enough, my friend who was a year below me, he went to art school in SF, got his degree, graphic design,
Yeah.
makes
'Cause-
branding for some freaking fanny pack manufacturer in SF or some crap.
Yeah, because here's the thing. There's the product, right? There's like, I wish I could do this better. I'll just use this hand. There's like a picture, and then there's art, right? Like you didn't want to get a job where they just like commission you to make paintings or make pictures or take photos or design illustrations. Like you get sad because that would probably bum you out.
Yeah,
You'd be creating, but you wouldn't consider that art.
it's true.
And I
It's
think that some musicians will make sounds, they make songs, they make albums, Lady Gaga, but they're not making. No, and she admits it. You can see that big shift that she had in her career, right?
Yeah,
Like all of a sudden she had an acoustic piano and sang without autotune, and she rips it. And
yeah,
like you wonder why. I don't even wonder why she didn't do that beforehand, because it's not weird enough to be
totally.
successful in America, right?
Yeah, her manager was saying, no, 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 no. This is what sells here. You got to do
Yeah, Katy Perry, same thing. Great Christian singer. You know, Taylor Swift's narrative is usually that down to earth thing, but then Miley Cyrus did the opposite, right? She's like sick of being Anna Montana.
this. Well, when you get famous enough, you do whatever the hell you want. That's what's dope.
It's true. And I guess they still fall. Yeah, that even they. That's so funny. Like they did that grind of doing everything they didn't want to do, so that one day they could do what they wanted to do. And we see that as so inspiring. Like look at Lady Gaga, so successful, multi-Grammy artist. But then she tells you she like all that stuff she didn't really want to do, and you're like,
Yeah,
it kind of reinforces the same narrative, I guess, in our culture where and I guess from my experience, and you've probably been to monasteries or you've been to temples, and being a monk or devoting yourself to a dharma, like an inner calling, that thing that you do good times, bad times, rich times, poor times, anytime, like you devote yourself to that.
mm,
um, I call that dharma, that unbreakable purpose, right? That I think, or like I know, is what I believe God to be. God the creator, creating God's image, for us to be creators as well. Uh, when we don't do that, it's like a crime against God. It's a crime against all of creation. Uh, if you want to make it ethical, it's if you can do something good for the world and you choose not to, that makes you a bad person. It's kind of like this. That's some of the philosophy on it. So I guess I'm just pressing you deeper on that. Why you would feel so guilty or bad or depressed or meaningless if you weren't making that? Because I think it's a powerful thing for people to consider, like mental health, mental wealth, in addition to their. Because I mean, my plan, bro, is honestly like, if I, $5,000 a month via internet teaching, selling courses, Spotify, YouTube, and like go live in Tanzania. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care
mm.
if I have to live in California where an apartment is $3,000
Yeah.
a month and traffic sucks. Like I'm not attached to a label on a country.
Yeah, totally. I'm with it. Yeah, well, I mean,
Maybe you haven't.
I like the concept. Well, I like the concept of where you're headed with your passive income and your expat status. That sounds dope. That's my dream too, actually.
X what?
Expat, man. Yeah, expatriate.
Oh, just
Over there.
out of the good old USA.
Yeah, man. Freaking and
Yeah, it doesn't have to be passive, it's to be also like, live streaming lessons, but
active. Yeah,
just a
totally.
way to not be like I don't have to pull my money out from a physical place. My money comes from within and between other people, like we're doing right now.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. But the other concept you spoke of the like is have I become an artist and is that like the calling
Right.
that is like, rainy or sunny or good or bad or broke or rich, don't matter. And I mean that's a great very romantic, very the poetic uh, struggling artist mentality or successful artist dream, yeah, I'm really into that. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense of, I, Ram Dass, since we're on this kind of
As
spiritual thing,
yeah.
Ram Dass, he talks about, who, I think Ram Dass used to tour with the Dead and shit too. He was super into like, music and rock and roll
Mhm.
and not necessarily repetitive guitar riffs with the Dead. He's more of a jam band,
Yeah,
but
exactly. That was
he,
the Dead's calling card. Every set is different.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And but he talks about like not attaching myself to in his book. I think Still Here. It's is the title. R.I.P. Ram Dass. He talks about
Father
I
Doss.
I am not I am not the things that I do.
Hmm.
I am just something beyond that, right? Beyond my
Hmm.
thoughts and that whole like ideology. But it really kind of hit me when it came to like I like to rock climb or
Hmm.
I make my money doing electrician work or
Right.
selling houses. But am I a real estate
Person,
person? Am I a rock climber? Well, I am if I'm climbing rocks.
but
But if
not
I'm
when
not climbing rocks, then is that actually me? Is that my identity?
interesting.
And with art, though, it makes me consider like, even if I'm not creating art outwardly, is it something that actually I can hold with me, like until
Mm.
the end of this life?
Mm.
Am I an artist,
Mm.
even if I'm not creating art? Because I really have tried not to attach myself because the concept that he was speaking of is that when you have a stroke, become paralyzed like he did, he's
Hmm.
like, I am no longer someone who enjoys driving fast cars anymore. I can't
Hmm.
drive a car. So if I'm attached to that identity, it's only going to bring me more suffering, when I think back to that. So he's like, I'd rather not attach to these identities that are fleeting. In the end, when I age and get old, I'm not going to be able to do a lot of them,
Hmm.
and it's going to bring me suffering. So artists might be the same, but it's an interesting concept of that. Like I would, yeah, I don't really attach to many
Identity.
labels anymore, but I would say that I'm an artist.
Yeah, it's always I'm an artist and a rock climber. I'm an artist and an electrician. I'm an artist and whatever else.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Not Dead Yet documentary. It's with Jason Becker.
No,
Becker was like a virtuoso guitar player, still probably one of the greatest. Uh, and he had ASL, Lou Gehrig's disease, and like basically is in a wheelchair, you know, can't like feed himself, blah blah blah, but he still writes music with his eyes. Like
What?
yeah, he has his eyes and he like points out the charts and like still creates and composes and then has other people go and play it for him, and he's very devout. He actually goes to the same spiritual guru that I subscribe to, Amrita Nandi Mai Devi. He's real big into meditation, has like the best sense of humor ever. And that's probably the most powerful example that I can think of. I mean, I've seen people play the guitar with no hands, you know, they use their feet. I
Well,
mean,
I think that concept is it. That's why it makes it so easy to identify with being
yeah.
an artist
And even
throughout
with like,
the entirety, is because, I mean, just like art is so vague of that our next episode, what actually qualifies as art? Well, yeah, I mean, you can kind of turn anything into it, you know. So it makes it easy just to say, yeah, I create, you know, whether it's doesn't matter what I'm doing.
yeah, I mean, I just hold a special place for being, because we talk about how much we'd like to destroy that identity at the end of the day, right? Like we talked about how much easier life would be if we could just kill that part of ourselves.
Yeah,
I mean, it would. It'd be like, oh yeah, like I'd die to be one. I'd love to be one of those people that just didn't care about art or like care about making music or
what
like
a trip.
strumming. Like I would love that. I'd be like, dude, I wish I just loved doing taxes and solving computer algorithms, you know, and like being a naive, like kind of naive salesman, not concerned with the equity and the well-being of the least well-off people on the earth
Yeah,
still suffering. You know, I wish I didn't care.
yeah,
And I know I'd say Ram Dass. I didn't even know he raced cars. But even with his stroke, he still continued to be a spiritual medium, I would say, or icon.
yeah.
So I mean, what was Ram Dass? I don't know. I guess I'd question what his identity or dharma truly was. Imagine if like Ram Dass was just like, nah, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like being a spiritual person. You know what I mean? Like I just imagine how many people's lives would be totally different.
I think that I think that he might have said in his book, might have, which is a
Yeah.
horrible way to lead with a fucking quote or anything like that. But he talks a lot about being a, you know, loving, compassionate being. And so, however that comes out in whatever you do,
Yeah.
I think whether you're a guru or you're writing books or you're making music, it's like at the end of the day, do I want to be a loving and compassionate being, you know, and have that reflect in like my artwork, even
Yeah.
if it's like in just how I be. And it doesn't mean it has to be all like, you know, like you've kind of discovered. It's like you can play metal and be loving and compassionate being and care for people.
Yeah.
You can make some dark art and still have that, like, carry that with me, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. The concept that, like, if aliens ever came down, would they even know what artwork was, you know?
Mhm.
Would they be advanced in it themselves? Possibly. Maybe they've phased out of it because they realized, like, oh, they evolved out of it, just like you're saying, of like, this is not essential to capitalism, productivity, innovation, the Elon Musks of the world, you know, progressive
Yeah.
beliefs. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's what's pushed us in the last 100 years to be this great, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I also have a very negative view of like industrialization, right? Because like we promote our advanced society, but it's killing the air we breathe.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like we live in a world like electricity and where you can live to be 100 years old, but no one likes the life they're living because they like are all sick of their jobs and they're not even the worst least well off. You know, like people living in Czechoslovakia or like Poland or Russia. I'm trying to use the white countries as examples because everyone defaults to Africa. It's like we could be like the people in Africa. I'm like, there's plenty of people doing shitty in the white countries.
Hating their lives in the white countries.
Yeah, I'm like, why is it only black people whose lives are so like? Have you seen pictures of Tanzania, Kenya,
Have you seen
Nigeria?
fucking Bakersfield? Have you been through?
Yeah, have you
No.
been to the South and the Bayou? They're like, they have huts in Africa. And I'm like, they have huts in Louisiana.
Fucking Oakland, they have shanty towns,
Yeah, like, what do you?
city blocks.
Yeah, like, what delusion are you living in where you think that? And it's up, and then some people. Okay, I'm getting this, but you can see I'm like long-term costs benefits, right, of advanced technology, right?
Yeah.
Advanced because our technology is great. Like you can produce twice as many cars with half as many people working, right? But our values towards work have never changed. So people still feel that even though we're quadrupling or even, producing at scales never seen in all of human history, people still feel like they need to work 8 hours a day to earn a living, even though like robots don't get taxed. Robots produce trillions of dollars a year, no
Yeah.
tax on them. So when the pin factory came out, and it used to take someone working 8 hours a day to produce all these pins, and then the machine comes and that only takes 4 hours. They didn't just say, okay, everyone just works 4 hours. We're going to pay you the same you used to work and like go out and learn a new skill, go out and create something, go out and spend time with your family, exercise, cook for yourself. Like life is easier now.
What a concept. Fuck.
I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. Like because leisure is demonized, right? It's only for the well off. It's only for the wealthy, right? It's always the Walton family that says work hard, right? And I mean, work isn't even really evaluated the same, right? Like working in the fields is way harder than being a marketing manager, right? I mean, like in terms of like toil, I mean, being a police officer is like controversial as that is a pretty fucked up job. You know what I mean? Just like that's a shitty job. Like I feel like we
Okay.
should be doing everything to make the world so great that we don't need police. Because like I don't think like we should, you know what I mean? Like
No.
and so I think I believe if aliens came down today, they'd be like, wow, look how ugly this place is. Like literally in America, you had bison and buffalo and salmon that were 100 pounds in the river, Like you can go back and look this up. They're like these huge 100-pound salmon
Sure.
and all across the East Coast and California, these huge oak trees with nuts and berries and, wild herbs and spices and, you know, and it's like all gone and been converted into a mall. And
Oh,
like now your choices are like, you know, some people look at like places in Africa like the Hadza tribe where like they don't have like, modern amenities. Like they wake up, they live in like tents or, you know, caves and have their blankets and then they go out and they hunt and they kick it with their friends. They run for 5 hours a day and then they do it tomorrow. Like they look at that as unsuccessful and I'm like, well, that sounds kind of dope.
sounds like it could be a win.
Right. Yeah. Can so
Well, man, that's freaking off the hook. Yeah, shout out. David Cho. I just on his Instagram. I to bring it back to the master.
yeah.
He just posted some video about he was over in the goddamn.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
That's why, oh, geez. Well, we're just all coming back to David Cho. Then, yeah, we need to tag him for sure. And yeah, that shit's just crazy.
I listened on him on Joe Rogan and I was like, I just love everything that even though he hates himself on some level, it sounds like he just so he just I love how he didn't fight his like spontaneity, you know?
Don't we all? Shit, man. Don't we all?
He just like fought like he just was not the person to like want to fight himself on being spontaneous with his life. And like
Yeah, no, he just went for it. That's why it's like it's kind of an idol in some ways where he didn't necessarily sell out in the beginning, like we were talking about, he just got as weird as possible, and then people love that about it. I mean, truly, as a visual artist, people love that shit. If you have skill and you're weird, man,
Yeah.
you're crushing it, you
Yeah.
know?
You're kind of weird, my friend.
I wish my art translated to yeah. I think I need to like hate myself a little more, maybe, because that outward projection of what's going on up in here comes out, and you know,
It might just be the art that you're making right now is like somehow. Do you think you have to like filter out parts of your personality to make that painting versus when you made like, when the Akipod t-shirt, it had like the bear and the lightning bolt and like, or like your Frankenstein like head. Like, do you feel like you have to filter out like Wild Taylor when you kind of make something like that, or is it seem like a consistent identity? I guess that'll be the last question before we wrap it up.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a constant. If I'm making it for other people, like I said, like I just because I would hang it on my wall doesn't mean that I put everything in it that I would want to, because sometimes I'm just like, man, like they're not gonna vibe with that, or it's sending a message that I'm not sure that I really want to be out there. Um, and then, or simply like with that T-shirt you're talking about, that wasn't the first proof, man. People voted out like three other designs. They're like, eh, like it says the word cult in it. Nope. And I'm like, well, fucking, that's what I want. That's what I want,
That's a
you know, like, but luckily I was given the option, and to create multiple things, and people could vote on it or whatever. But oftentimes I don't want to waste my time, so I just, I get rid of the weird symbolism and just have the cool effect that I want, that I like, and I know that they're probably gonna like it, and I just ride with it. And I hope to create more works that push the limits of uh, that edge, like you said, just keep moving that edge a little further out. Try to create some shit that maybe try to create some shit that I'm not conscious that I've actually seen before, because I probably have seen it and I'm just twisting it and putting a stamp on it that, oh yeah, this is my concept. I like to say,
Right.
you see a lot of this. And I'd say there's probably, I could count on freaking both my hands the amount of original concepts that I've actually created.
Yeah.
And even half of those are probably some shit that I'm just not aware of that I've seen somewhere else, or I've taken two and put them together. Does that make it an original? Fuck, I don't know. We could debate on that, I guess.
Well, yeah, but you brought up, we talked about identity here. We talked about like that inspiration from other people being, you know, the word I guess would be authentic selves. Like, when Stevie Ray Vaughan and covers a Hendrix song, I think we talked about that. It still sounds like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
When Hendrix covers Hey Joe, it's still, or All on the Watchtower.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
I think and even when we talked about like how you talked about like when you're rock climbing, do you feel like an authentic rock climber? Do you feel like an authentic real estate agent? It just it sounds like the
That's true.
the thing you think is most authentic about you is that art on some level.
On some level, yeah. Yeah, I suppose, because there's only so many ways to sell a house.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, yeah, I can get closest to like my authentic self, I think, yeah. Creating artwork, for sure.
Well, my man, I appreciate you hanging out with me.
Yeah, man.
Let
Good
me
talk.
ask you all these questions. Hopefully, I didn't talk over you too much,
Same,
monopolize it.
same here, man.
But look forward to other topics that we can do together. And hopefully getting people to, you know, feel like they're not alone in their quest to like create a more beautiful world.
Wow, yeah, that should be easy.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm gonna call David Cho. Maybe we'll get him on the next one. Do
Yeah,
a
we should. I mean, fuck it. We'll both message him. Be like, hey,
okay.
do you want to come in and have us ask you questions? He, he'd probably be like, whatever. I mean, he went and hung out with the pygmy tribe. So,
Yeah, that sounds cooler than hanging out with us, but maybe not. I don't know. I guess it depends on who you are. There ain't much going on right now.
yeah, what's he got to do? Be a millionaire?
Yeah, not too much happening.
All right, I'm gonna pause recording. But thank you everyone for listening. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you have topics that you've been questioning or things that you related to, please send it. Creators, keep on creating. Uh, if you have a choice, if you don't, if you feel like art is a choice, I guess would be questions I'd want to hear from people. Do you feel like you have a choice, and if you create art and can still live a happy life? Uh, Let us know your experience. If you can choose to not make art and still be happy. Let us know your secret. We want to know. We want to be stockbrokers and accountants and hedge fund managers
Yeah,
instead of pursuing these, bashing of strings and screaming positive affirmations over metal
yeah.
or silly games.
Silly childish games.
Namaste, everyone. Do you have
Hey,
anything else you want to say, Taylor?
no, man. Hang in there. Hang in there. That's it.
I like how you bring everything back to Earth. That's like the great tandem. I like take everything to like the sky, and you'll be like back to the soil.
Yeah, be here now. Hang in there.
I don't know.